How was your Christmas? How was all that fun stuff?
It was good, Bruce. We took a full 3 weeks off. We're pretty
Nice.
close to it,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was really, really good. Came in a couple of times just to pick up some documents or just email something home so I could have a quick look at something. But other than that, that was it.
Yep. I know you guys are busy, so I'm really glad that you've taken the time to do this with me. So I usually just begin by welcoming you, Bob and Sue Motherwell, to Spotlight Video with me. And thank you for doing this. We've been working together for quite a while. Like, I think,
Yeah, the
if my
three.
memory is any good at all, I think it's 2018 that we
we're probably
started.
pretty close. Yeah, I was going to say 3 years.
Yep, August 2018. So we've been working together for quite a while. Can you, first of all, I'd like to get you just to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your business, and maybe tell us a little bit about the journey of your business from maybe where you were when we first met and where we're going, where we went over those years and what the positives were.
We acquired the business back in 2016.
16.
2016.
The business is Creative by Design WA.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
So we are Creative by Design WA.
Yep.
We acquired the business back in 2016. Back then, the business was primarily a wardrobe company. It was, truthfully, having a very difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
So we took a fairly substantial risk in stepping into this business because it depends on the people to be able to run a good business. So we came in, and of course, as always, once you start peeling the layers back, it's perhaps a little uglier than we
You actually get to look behind the curtain for sure. And yeah.
Yeah. And so we knew we had a lot of work in front of us. It was compounded by the fact that, at that time, the economy here in the West was still on the decline. So we knew we could control a number of things, but the one thing we couldn't control was the market. As the economy continued to slide, we saw our revenue also sliding. So there were a number of significant changes that we knew had to occur. We had to diversify our product line. We had to upskill our people or change our people.
Yeah.
We had to develop some form of marketing to be able to move us in another direction. And so I guess we were in the business here for 2.5 years or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And that's when we heard about the Joinery Coach. So we contacted you using your marketing ploys, so to speak, and whatnot. And I'm going to take it that you were able to actually follow our interaction. And so anyway, we ended up coming to you to learn a little bit about joinery businesses and how to run a better joinery business. And that is through the efficiency, the training of people, the processes in the business that had to be developed and then solidified in the business. And also to be able to bring a new focus or a fresh look on marketing. Because our marketing at the time, when we took over, was primarily done through the delivery of pamphlets to people's houses.
Yeah.
The conversion rate was very high on those pamphlets, but the cost was significant.
Yeah.
We had never done any digital marketing as such, so Sue took that on, and it took some time, perhaps longer than we might have anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
To really start to get some traction through the digital marketing. But here we are now. It's we're going through our marketing leads differently than we might have, certainly far differently than we would have when we first started, where every lead that came in was a viable candidate. Now we're far more selective over who we work with.
Yeah.
We try and qualify those leads as best we can to minimize the wasted effort, if you want to call it that, by our designers.
Would you say that's one of the significant improvement areas that we've helped you with over this time?
I think your suggestion that we have our first appointments in our showroom.
Yes.
That was a changer.
So that got them to come to you first, and that filtered out a lot of the tire kickers to begin with.
Yeah. Instead of the designers driving all over the city. when
Yes.
there's also 3 other companies going to the same house.
Yeah.
So I think that was, that was a tough one. That was a tough line to cross.
Yeah.
But once we did it, yeah, we had very few people that refused to come in.
Yeah. When we first met, what were some of the reasons or the milestones or goals that you wanted to achieve with us over those years that you weren't sort of doing in the business? Was it, we've identified marketing, we needed to help you with marketing, but what were some of the other areas of your business?
We knew that we had to bring improved work practices or efficiencies into the workshop. We also knew that we needed to, the business as a whole needed new processes.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably very common practice is that in a business like this one, if you're looking to improve things, the first thing you do is you go to the shop floor and you start working there. But in fact, there was just a whole range of issues that needed to be resolved before the work even hit the shop floor. So by beginning to tidy up, excuse me, the type of work that was coming in, the quality of the drafting, the design work, the way we went about our draftings, even the software that we used, went a long way to reducing the number of errors that were being made.
Yeah.
And accelerate the work through the shop.
I remember really clearly when we got you to map out your processes from start to finish, all the boxes, all the steps and stages. That was when we were looking at bringing in a business management system.
Yeah.
And at that time, I remember it being really obvious, the business of your size, how much administration burden there was in the business at the core of the business, that a business management system should go a long way to solving. Tell me a little bit about your journey from there to where you are now. I know you've still got a fair bit of work to do in implementing JobMan and getting it really, firing in all cylinders. But the acknowledgement early on that, the core of the business is really where a lot of the waste and the bottlenecks are. Not so, the factory for sure, but leading up to that, there's a million more steps before it gets to the factory that kind of delay the actual start of the job. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on your journey from no real business management system to where you are now.
As you said, once we sat down and we actually mapped out the steps that a file went through or a person went through as it traveled through the business. As somebody once said to me recently is, about in another business, by the time the product hit the customer's door, the warranty had expired. These files and everything and the product traveled around so much.
Yeah.
So once we, and that was the key, was to lay it out so you can visually see the current state. Where is everything going? Who's handling what?
Yeah.
Then once you've got that visibility, then it's a lot easier to start making those changes. And that was a big move. And of course, by going to the business management system, that just allowed us to begin to put everything into place, such that it's a fixed management system.
Yeah.
Things become far less
more transparent.
Just about everybody in the business has visibility to the various stages of a quote or file.
Yeah. So it really does help communication channels, doesn't it? Because it reduces the need for somebody to ask somebody else or to open a filing cabinet and try and file through something. It's just go to the system, look for the thing and get on with it.
That's right. Yeah. It's as simple sometimes. You do it on the shop floor, you do it in the office. If you have to spend 10 minutes a day trying to track something down 5 days a week, 48 weeks of the year, you just add that up at your hourly rate.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, perhaps you can squeeze another kitchen in there.
Yeah.
So those we started looking at it from a minutes perspective.
Yeah. So going from hours to minutes.
Yeah.
So what I'm actually kind of curious about is when a business improves, there has to be some measurements in place, right? You've got to know, first of all, where you're at, and that could be, like profit or money in the bank or number of clients or whatever those measurements actually are. How are you measuring your like you've had a fairly dramatic over 3 years. I know 3 years seems like a long time, but in the business life, that's a short period of time. You've had a really dramatic change from where you were when we first met to where you are now, because you're in a really, really strong position now with this business. What are the key measurements that you've been watching over that period of time to know that the progression in your business is actually occurring?
The one thing we've done since the day we bought it is, we established a number of key measurements, and then we've tracked it every month for every year that we've been here.
Yeah.
So we know exactly where we've been. But at the end of the day, we're tracking revenue, obviously. So revenue has jumped up considerably over the last 24 months or so.
Yep.
We track and really focus on our gross margin to make sure that our selling price is where it needs to be.
Yep.
We track our overhead as a percentage of revenue to try and drive that down, because it was, I wouldn't say that it's double, but it's come down by over a third.
Yeah, you had a, I want to use the term hatchet, but maybe meat cleaver is a better term for it. When we got to that stage of really forensically analyzing your costs, you really, really went at it, didn't you, to reduce your costs dramatically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We did that without reducing people.
Yeah.
So you knew there was a lot of waste.
Yeah.
And the other thing, of course, is net profit. How much?
Yeah. So your net profit is
net profit.
Yeah. And that, at the end of the day, that's what makes everybody happy, right? Because if your net profit is improving, that's the last lag indicator to tell you that, hey, things are going really, really well.
That's right.
Yeah, puts a smile on most people's faces if we can see a consistent increase in net profit.
Yeah.
Means that you can take some holidays. Bob, you can go bike riding more often. Sue, you can go golfing more often. So it leads to the obvious question: have you been taking more time off for yourself? Has that actually occurred? Talking about money and business and all that sort of stuff, of course, is interesting. But the personal side of it for you guys, the journey over the last 3 years, where when I first met you, you weren't really, I mean, you were still pretty good at keeping your personal time, but you were still very, very focused on getting the business to work. But now, how has it changed personally for you?
Not much.
That's not quite true. I mean, certainly when, Sue had her schedule of events through the course of the week. And when this COVID thing hit, then of course it was all hands on deck, just trying to figure it out. So Sue kind of reverted back to working in here full time. And then, once we began to get some clarity over what COVID was or wasn't in terms of market impact, it probably took us about 12 or more months. Mm-hmm. Then Sue was able to go back to, her routine, if you will, just to make sure that, you don't slide down that slippery slope of just being so focused on work that that's all you have. Yeah. And for myself, I really, for the most part, have continued to focus on making sure that I get certain amounts of time. Yeah. And then, as we mentioned earlier on, just the idea that we could have 3 weeks off at Christmas.
That's kind of where I was leading to, is that ability to have 3 weeks off and not really worry about things. That's pretty massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's always a plus. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked about where you're at before, and what we kind of did was we're working together. Where do you see yourselves in 3 to 5 years from now? What's the future look like for you guys?
Well, I think we'll be working far less than we are today. Even the business itself, I think, has enormous potential. As we, I guess, bring additional senior people in, that begins to allow us to diversify even further, lift our level of expertise, lift our level of standardization, and I guess take workload from us as a couple. Allows us begins to allow us the time that we need.
Takes the weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you hesitant in joining a coaching program?
No.
Wow. Okay. So that's of course that's the opposite of what most people in this industry would say. Yeah. What was it that gave you that feeling of not being hesitant to join, or not resisting it?
Yes, in other businesses, we have used business coach or mentors in the past very successfully, and for us, never having been in the cabinet making industry, this was as I said earlier on, it was a high risk in a deteriorating environment.
Yeah.
So we knew that we had to get somebody in to give us a hand, and your reputation preceded you. You came via recommendation, word of mouth, then just a little bit of research, of course, a few phone calls, a few video calls, and such. It wasn't a difficult step for us.
Cool. So if you were speaking to the industry of cabinet makers and joiners that have started a joinery business, Bob, Sue, you and I have talked a fair bit about this, where you guys have come not from the joinery industry. Bob, you were in mining early on. What would you say to the joinery industry in general about their approach or their thoughts about, not so much, I'm not asking you to definitely talk about our program, although you have history with that, but getting help as a topic. What would you say to joinery businesses in general about their hesitation to get help from outside?
I think anybody that's grown a business is well aware that the best way that you can improve your business is often to look outside your industry or to look outside your immediate sandbox. Learn from other people, and that's there is a group within the joiner coach that you can bounce ideas off of. Just acknowledge that we cannot be all things to all people. And oftentimes it's that fresh set of eyes that comes into a business. They'll see things from a completely different perspective. Call it a cold, hard, factual perspective sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, that needs to be acknowledged and recognized and then dealt with.
And be open-minded.
Yeah, be open-minded to change.
Don't be stuck in your time warp of this is the way it's always been done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's one of the things that I say quite often, right, is new knowledge and skill is not just going to come to you overnight in your dreams through an epiphany.
Yes.
It doesn't work that way. You've got to get outside sources to give it to you or to find it.
Yeah. So also, I think the other thing is realize that we all want to get to a certain place, or we want to be at a certain place either in our life or in our business. And it just takes a lot of work to get there. And the fact is that there are some people that are prepared to put in those hard yards to get there.
Yep.
And there are some that are not. And some of those people may be your employees.
Yep.
And that means that not everybody is going to grow with you. Yep. And sometimes that, they could be long-term employees, and it's hard and it's painful, but for the benefit of the business, something has to change.
Yeah. Look, I just love working with you guys. It's been great. And of course we have a Canadian connection anyway. So there was immediate connection. I'd love it if you would tell us a little bit about how people can get in contact with you. If anybody is watching this, tell us a little bit more about your business, your website, what you do, and what you're great at, and why you would be the best choice for people to contact to get stuff.
I guess we're passionate about what we do. We're passionate about the people that we work with. We're passionate about our clients. We take a lot of pride in meeting or exceeding the needs of our clients. So we will tackle just about anything. And sometimes that can be to our detriment, but you've got to stretch yourself. And that's what we like to do is we stretch ourselves, with unusual designs. We often find ourselves doing work that other cabinet businesses have turned down for one reason or another. We don't go after the cookie cutter business. So everything that we do is, every job is a different fit, it's a different style.
Yeah.
And that's not uncommon. I think most of us will say that is that everything we do is custom.
It's true.
But I think the key is we will tackle things a lot of people.
So primarily your product line, what is it that you're really well known for as far as your main product?
Good question. Because the business has been around for 30 years, our reputation is wardrobes. However, our focus at the beginning was to bring the percentage of our business, our revenue in wardrobes down to a certain amount. We've hit that amount. The balance of our business is now kitchens, vanities, home offices,
Yeah.
and the other, custom entertainment units and things like that. So that's been our real focus is to be able to spread ourselves through the rest of the house rather than just wardrobes.
Yeah. So really, really well designed, well built in-house, built-in joinery.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've got an amazing kitchen designer, I must say. Jason's incredible. So that sort of transition into custom kitchens has been a good one when you've got that sort of skill in your team.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, no question. I think we don't enter any awards to win or anything like that, but I feel confident in saying we've got probably one of the better, if not the best, kitchen designer.
Yeah, I would agree, and we see a lot of kitchen designers, so I think he's exceptional.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
I think contact us on the phone, which is 9345-4800.
Yep.
Look on our website. It's creative by design, oneword.com.au.
Yep.
And they can get a taste or a flavor for what it is that we do, and have a look at our Google reviews.
Yep.
I think fair to say every client gets an opportunity to, or is asked to do a review on us, an honest review, be it good or bad. And every one of them gets a response.
Yeah. And you have exceptional reviews. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Bob, Sue, thanks for taking the time to do this today. And hopefully, if anybody wants to contact you for kitchens, wardrobes, entertainment units, office fit outs,
Wall beds.
wall beds. Oh, that was the other thing too, because in my previous career, it's unusual to find anybody that does wall beds. And it's at some point, we're going to contact you and have you make a wall bed for us. Once we get a house, we're going to stay in for more than 5 years. Yeah. Excellent. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, Bruce.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.
Very
Cheers.
welcome.